A sleek obsidian black sedan glided down a quiet suburban road in Fairhaven, New Jersey. Behind the wheel sat Aisha Reed, a composed 40-year-old black woman whose presence radiated calm intelligence. After a long day at her Washington, D.C. office, she wanted nothing more than home and silence. But that peace vanished when red and blue lights flashed in her rearview mirror. Puzzled, she hadn't broken any law. Aisha pulled over and lowered her window. A tall, pale-skinned officer approached, his name tag reading Stone. "I stopped you for a safety check," he said flatly. Aisha frowned slightly. "Is there a problem with my vehicle, officer?" "License and registration," he barked. She handed them over without protest. When he returned to his cruiser, she sighed, aware of the familiar tension that came from encounters like this. Being director of the FBI hadn't shielded her from prejudice before, and it wouldn't now. When Stone came back, his tone was sharper. "I need another ID. My license and registration are valid," she replied evenly. "Why do you need more?" He smirked. "People like you don't drive cars like this unless something's shady." Her hands tightened on the wheel. "People like me? I'm in charge here," Stone snapped. "If you don't cooperate, I'll arrest you." Aisha met his glare. "You have no lawful reason for arrest, officer. You're crossing the line." That defiance infuriated him. "Don't tell me how to do my job. People like you should know their place." The words hit hard, but Aisha remained calm. "You're abusing your authority," she warned. Stone's rage boiled over. "Get out of the car," he shouted, drawing his weapon. Aisha stepped out slowly, phone in hand. "Do you really want to do this, Officer Stone? You're about to destroy your career." "Hands on your head," he barked. She pressed the speed dial. "This is Aisha Reed. I'm being unlawfully detained by an officer. Send Sheriff Robert Vance immediately." Stone hesitated, confusion flashing in his eyes. "Who are you calling?" "You'll find out soon enough." Moments later, another set of sirens filled the air. Sheriff Vance's car pulled up, and he emerged, eyes narrowing at the sight of Stone's weapon still raised. "Stone," Vance thundered. "Drop that gun right now. What in God's name are you doing?" Stone froze, then lowered the weapon, stammering. "Sir," she refused to show ID. "I was just doing my job." Aisha stepped forward. "Sheriff Vance, I believe this officer's job includes racial slurs and pointing a gun at innocent citizens." Vance turned to her, and his face changed. "Director Reed?" he said quietly. Stone blinked, stunned. "Director? What?" "Yes," Aisha said coldly. "Director of the FBI. And this man just threatened me." Stone's color drained. I didn't know. You shouldn't have to know who I am to act lawfully," she replied. Vance's jaw tightened. "Officer Stone, return to the precinct immediately. We'll discuss this later." Stone retreated wordlessly. Vance faced Aisha. "Director Reed, I deeply apologize. This is unacceptable. I promise to handle this properly." "See that you do," she said firmly. "Because this isn't just about me. It's about the system that allows officers like him to thrive." Days later, the story exploded nationwide. Officer points gun at FBI director flooded headlines, sparking outrage. Vance ordered a full internal investigation. Footage from Stone's dashcam revealed his aggression and racial remarks. "You should know this isn't your neighborhood." The evidence was undeniable. During a press conference, Sheriff Vance faced dozens of cameras. "We deeply regret what happened to Director Reed. Officer Stone's conduct was unacceptable and does not reflect our values. We will ensure full accountability." Aisha, calm but resolute, stood beside him. "This is not about my title," she told the crowd. "It's about every citizen who fears those sworn to protect them. Justice must not depend on rank or color. It must depend on truth." The audience erupted in applause. A week later, the disciplinary board made its decision. Kevin Stone was fired and permanently barred from law enforcement. In a brief interview, he looked broken. "I let my prejudice cloud my judgment," he said. But the apology came too late. The event became a catalyst for reform. Under Aisha's guidance, Sheriff Vance implemented sweeping changes, mandatory anti-racism training, body camera requirements, and a confidential hotline for reporting abuse. At a federal meeting weeks later, Aisha stood before reporters once more. "This isn't the end," she declared. "It's the beginning of a system built on fairness and accountability. We can't undo the past, but we can shape the future." The room filled with applause. That night, as Aisha drove through the same quiet streets where it had all begun, she looked in her mirror, not at flashing lights this time, but at the reflection of a woman who had turned injustice into change. She smiled faintly, her resolve unshaken. The road ahead was long, but now it was hers to lead. In the following days, the small-town sheriff's office descended into turmoil as the shocking story of Officer Kevin Stone pointing a gun at the FBI director spread rapidly across major news outlets, igniting nationwide outrage. Sheriff Vance acted swiftly, launching an internal investigation to restore public trust. Dashcam footage and body mic recordings revealed the disturbing truth of Stone's abuse of power and racist remarks, including the chilling words, "Who do you think you are? Not following the rules? You should know this isn't your neighborhood." The evidence was undeniable, sparking public fury as activists, journalists, and citizens demanded justice. Under growing pressure, Sheriff Vance held a press conference, acknowledging the department's failure. "We deeply regret what happened to Director Reed. Officer Stone's actions do not reflect our department's values," he said solemnly, vowing transparency. Aisha Reed, calm but resolute, stood beside him. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of authority and conviction. "I am not here to seek justice for myself. I am here to demand a system where no citizen fears those sworn to protect them. This is not about one officer. It is about accountability." The crowd erupted in applause, sensing the moment's gravity. A week later, the disciplinary board delivered its verdict. Kevin Stone was officially dismissed, permanently barred from serving in law enforcement. In a brief interview, stripped of arrogance, he admitted, "I let prejudice cloud my judgment. I'm sorry." But the damage was done, and his apology came too late. The case, however, marked a turning point. Under Aisha's insistence and public demand, Sheriff Vance introduced sweeping reforms, mandatory anti-racism training, compulsory body and dash cameras, and a confidential hotline for reporting misconduct. These measures became the cornerstone of rebuilding community trust. Aisha took the fight further, presenting the model to federal agencies nationwide. "Justice must not depend on status or skin color," she told a government panel. "It must depend on truth and fairness." Her words resonated far beyond the town's borders, inspiring systemic change. Over the following months, her confrontation with Stone became symbolic, a story of courage and reform shared in schools, police academies, and news programs. Appearing on national television, Aisha spoke again. "This incident is not a victory, but a reminder that injustice thrives when silence prevails. Change begins when someone decides to stand up." Sheriff Vance, honoring his word, continued enforcing the reforms with transparency. The town, once stained by scandal, slowly became an example of renewal and accountability. Looking back, Aisha often remembered that day, the fear in Stone's eyes, the weight of her own resolve, and understood how her position had shielded her where others might not have been spared. That realization fueled her mission to protect those without power. A year later, reflecting on the anniversary of the event, she said, "It was never about winning an argument. It was about confronting a broken system and choosing a different path. We cannot fix everything overnight, but we can change direction." Her words became a guiding principle for future reforms. Aisha's story lived on as proof that courage and justice can overcome prejudice and abuse of power. She had turned discrimination into transformation and left a legacy that reminded the nation that no one is above the law and no one should ever be beneath